Iman was 27 years old and had been engaged for 6 months to a man named Yumar who had lived in Toronto for 8 years. The wedding was in 6 months' time. Yumar's mother, his elder sister, and 11 of his aunts, uncles, and cousins were flying in from Canada for the 2 weeks around the wedding. All of them spoke English at home. Most of them still spoke Urdu, but their Urdu, Yumar had gently warned her, had aged strangely in a colder country, and they slipped mid-sentence into English without noticing. Iman had studied English at school. She had passed her matriculation with a decent mark. She could, on a good afternoon at the small school office where she worked as an administrator, write a careful English email to a parent about a fee. Her written English was competent. But she had not, at 27, ever held a full spoken conversation in English with anyone in her life. And now she was going to have to hold approximately 14 of them per day for 2 weeks with the family she was about to become part of. The turning point came the evening Yumar arranged a video call between her and his mother. His mother's face appeared on the small screen, warm and lightly wrinkled, and full of the honest kindness of a woman who had made room for many daughters over many years. She said in careful, gentle English, "Hello, my dear." Iman said hello. Yumar's mother asked her warmly whether she was well. Iman said yes. Yumar's mother asked her how her family was. Iman said, "They are well, thank you." This went on for 20 minutes. Every question Iman answered with the shortest possible answer. Every silence lasted a beat too long. Yumar's mother, who was warm and quick and had raised 3 chatty children and had lived in Toronto long enough to know that people from home were sometimes shy, kept trying gently to draw her out. Iman kept freezing. She could feel her ears growing hot. She could feel Yumar off camera, silently willing her to say something more. When the call ended, Iman sat on her bed and cried in the small, breathless way of a woman who has just understood the size of a problem she cannot walk away from. She did what she had always done when she felt behind. She bought books. She downloaded 3 English apps. She watched a lecture that promised fluency in 30 days. She sat at her small kitchen table with a grammar textbook until midnight for 2 weeks. Nothing changed. She had already known most of the grammar. She had always known most of the grammar. Her problem was not her mind. Her problem was her mouth. One evening in the 3rd week, tired and out of ideas, she found a small, quiet video on her phone made by a woman with a soft voice who said something Iman had never heard anyone say quite that way before. The woman said that speaking English was not the same as knowing English. She said that many learners waited for confidence before they spoke, and that this was the wrong order. Confidence, the woman said, was the result of speaking, not the cause of it. She said that if a learner wanted to become able to speak, they had to begin speaking before they felt ready, because there was no other order in which speaking could be learned. Iman watched the video 3 times. She wrote down on a small piece of paper she stuck to her mirror 5 short pieces of advice the woman had offered. Speak, even if it comes out slowly. Use the words you already have, not the ones you wish you had. If you forget a word, describe it. Ask questions, because questions keep conversations going. Do not fear mistakes, because most people are too busy thinking about themselves to notice yours. She began the next morning in her own small room before the sun was fully up. She said aloud, softly, in English, "Good morning." It sounded strange coming out of her mouth. She said, "I am making tea. I am opening the window. I can hear the crows." Her voice sounded slightly ridiculous to her own ears for 4 days. On the 5th day, it did not. She practiced in small ways she could hide. She talked to herself in the shower. She narrated her walk to the office. She told her plants in English that they were doing well. She asked her small, warm kettle aloud whether it was almost ready. She practiced the specific sentences she would need with her future mother-in-law. "It is nice to meet you. Thank you for coming so far. How was your flight? Please, would you like some tea?" She said each one, softly, at least 3 times a day, until her mouth stopped tripping over the shape of them. She also began, at the suggestion of the woman in the video, to build a small collection of what she called escape phrases. These were sentences she could use when she got stuck in a real conversation. "Could you say that again, please? I understood most of it, but not the last part. What is the word for the thing that? I know this word, but it has run away from me." She wrote each phrase on a small card and pinned the cards to her wardrobe door where she could see them while she dressed each morning. 2 weeks in, she asked Yumar for another video call with his mother. She had not yet told anyone what she was doing. Yumar arranged it. His mother's warm face appeared on the small screen again. Iman took a breath. She had prepared her first question in advance and had rehearsed it aloud 20 times that morning. She said in slow, careful English, "Auntie, I have been thinking. Would you tell me what it is like in Toronto in July?" Yumer's mother's face changed, not in a dramatic way, only a small warm shift as though a door had opened. She began warmly to describe the way the light stayed late in Canadian summer, and the way her small kitchen filled with sunlight in the evenings, and the way she still, after 20 years, missed the smell of jasmine on a Karachi summer night. She talked for nearly 10 minutes. Iman listened. When there was a pause, Iman asked another prepared question. "Auntie, do you have a favorite place in your house?" Yumer's mother laughed and described her balcony. Iman asked another question, and another. The call lasted 47 minutes. Iman spoke, by her own careful count afterwards, 29 full sentences in English. She made small mistakes. Yumer's mother pretended not to hear them, or repeated Iman's sentences back, gently in the correct form without stopping the flow. When the call ended, Iman sat on her bed for a long time. She was smiling. She could not remember the last time she had smiled after a call. She had spoken. She had been understood. Her sentences had not been elegant. They had been real. Nothing had broken. Nothing had ended. Over the following months, she kept going. She held small English conversations with her sister, who spoke passable English herself, and who agreed to only reply in English for 1 small hour every Sunday afternoon. She recorded herself on her phone once a week, speaking for exactly 2 minutes about something ordinary, her day, her week, a small story from the office. She did not enjoy hearing her own voice. She did it anyway. After 10 weeks, she went back and listened to her very first recording, and she did not recognize the frightened woman on it. That woman had been her only 10 weeks earlier. She sat on her bed and cried again, but this time for a different reason. She spoke to Yumer's mother by video every second week. Their conversations grew warmer and longer. She asked about the aunts. She asked about the sister. She learned the names of everyone who was coming. She built in her head a small, warm map of her future family before any of them had set foot in her country. The family arrived in the second week of May. Iman met them at the airport, holding a small, warm bunch of flowers her sister had helped her arrange. She said, in slow, warm English, "Welcome to Karachi. It is so good to finally meet you all." Yumer's mother hugged her without letting go for a long moment. His sister said kindly, "My brother told me your English is beautiful, and now I see that he was not exaggerating." Iman laughed. She said in careful English, "He is very generous with the truth." Everyone laughed. It was, she realized later, the first joke she had ever made in English in her life. The 2 weeks that followed were the fullest of her adult life. She held real conversations. She asked real questions. She forgot words and described them warmly. She made mistakes and did not stop. She learned that her future mother-in-law had a small habit of humming while she cooked. She learned that Yumer's sister loved cats but was allergic to them. She learned that a great-aunt had taught herself English in her 60s by reading English newspapers aloud to her small dog. Iman recognized something of herself in that story. A year later, in a small, quiet moment at a family dinner, her younger cousin Zara, who was 19 and about to start university, took her aside and confessed, in a small, tired voice, that she had studied English for 12 years and could not speak a single sentence to a real person without her hands going cold. She was engaged herself to a boy whose extended family lived in London. She was terrified. Iman thought for a long moment. She looked at the girl, who reminded her painfully of a version of herself. "Do not wait until you feel ready," she said. "You will never feel ready. Ready is what comes after speaking, not before. Every morning, alone in your room, say 5 sentences in English out loud, about anything. Then prepare 1 small question for someone who matters to you. Ask them the question. Listen to their answer. Ask another one. That is the whole game. In 3 months, you will not recognize the girl you are tonight." The girl frowned. 3 months, she said, that is all. Iman smiled the small smile of a woman who had learned everything.